So today we're continuing our reading of Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto entitled The Cosmic Manifestation, chapter 9 entitled Answers by Citing the Lord's Version, and we're on text number 3. I'm sorry? Oh. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Text number 3, please repeat. Yarhi Baba Mehim Nisme. Yarhi Baba Mehim Nisme. Yarhi Baba
Yahi Baba Mahimni
Parasmin Kalamaya Yo.
Parasmin Kalamaya Yo.
Parasmin Kalamaya Yo.
Parasmin Kalamaya Yo.
Rameta Gatta Samoha.
Rameta Gatta Samoha.
Rameta Gatta Samoha.
Rameta Gatta Samoha.
Jatvo daste tadobayam.
Jatvo daste tadobayam.
Jatvo daste tadobayam.
Jatvo daste tadobayam.
Yahi Baba Mahimni Sve.
Yahi Baba Mahimni Sve.
Parasmin Kalamaya Yo.
Parasmin Kalamaya Yo.
Rameta Gatta Samoha.
Rameta Gatta Samoha.
Jatvo daste tadobayam.
Jatvo daste tadobayam.
Now, because we don't have a lot of time and it's a long purport, maybe we can just have 2 men chant and 2 women chant the verse. So please chant.
Yahi Baba Mahimni Shwe.
Yahi Baba Mahimni Shwe.
Parasmin Kala Maya Yo.
Parasmin Kalamaya Yo.
Rameta Gata Samoha.
Rameta Gatta Samoha.
Yatvo daste tadobayam.
Jatvo daste tadobayam.
Yahi Baba Mahimni Sve.
Yahi Baba Mahimni Shwe.
Parasmin Kalamaya Yo.
Parasmin Kalamaya Yo.
Rameta Gatta Samoha.
Rameta Gatta Samoha.
Jatvo daste tadobayam.
Jatvo daste tadobayam.
Yahi Baba Mahimni Sve.
Yahi Baba Mahimni Shwe.
Parasmin Kalamaya Yo.
Parasmin Kalamaya Yo.
Rameta Gatta Samoha.
Rameta Gatta Samoha.
Jatvo daste tadobayam.
Jatvo daste tadobayam.
Yahi Baba Mahimni Sve.
Yahi Baba Mahimni Shwe.
Parasmin Kalamaya Yo.
Parasmin Kalamaya Yo.
Rameta Gata Samoha.
Rameta Gatta Samoha.
Jatvo daste tadobayam.
Jatvo daste tadobayam.
Word for word synonyms, please repeat. Yahi.
Yahi.
At any time.
At any time.
Baba.
Baba.
Certainly.
Certainly.
Mahimni.
Mahimni.
In the glory.
In the glory.
Sway.
Sway.
Of himself.
Of himself.
Parasmin.
Parasmin.
In the supreme.
In the supreme.
Kala.
Kala.
Time.
Time.
Maya Yo.
Maya Yo.
Of the material energy.
Of the material energy.
Rameta.
Rameta.
Enjoys.
Enjoys.
Gatta Samoha.
Gatta Samoha.
Being freed from the misconception.
Being free from the misconception.
Jatva.
Jatva.
Giving up.
Giving up.
Udaste.
Udaste.
In fullness.
In fullness.
Tada.
Tada.
Then. Ubayam.
Ubayam.
Both.
Both.
The misconceptions of I and mine.
The misconceptions of I and mine.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada.
Jai Shri Prabhupada.
So this is Shukadeva Goswami continuing his answers to Parikshit Maharaj. As soon as the living entity becomes situated in his constitutional glory and begins to enjoy the transcendence beyond time and material energy, he at once gives up the two misconceptions of life, I and mine. and thus becomes fully manifested as the pure self. Purport. The two misconceptions of life, namely I and mine, are verily manifested in two classes of men. In the lower state, the conception of mine is very prominent. And in the higher state, the misconception of I is prominent. In the animal state of life, the misconception of mine is perceivable even in the category of cats and dogs, who fight with one another with the same misconception of mine. In the lower stage of human life, the same misconception is also prominent in the shape of, it is my body, it is my house, it is my family, it is my caste, it is my nation, it is my country, and so on. And in the higher stage of speculative knowledge, the same misconception of mine is transformed into I am, or it is all I am, etc. There are many classes of men comprehending the same misconception of I and mine in different colors. But the real significance of I can be realized only when one is situated in the consciousness of I am the eternal servitor of the Lord. This is pure consciousness, and the whole Vedic literatures teach us this conception of life. The misconception of I am the Lord, or I am the Supreme, is more dangerous than the misconception of mine. Although there are sometimes directions in the Vedic literatures to think oneself one with the Lord, that does not mean that one becomes identical with the Lord in every respect. Undoubtedly, there is oneness of the living entity with the Lord in many respects, but ultimately, the living entity is subordinate to the Lord, and he is constitutionally meant for satisfying the senses of the Lord. The Lord therefore asks the conditioned souls to surrender unto him. Had the living entities not been subordinate to the supreme will, why would the living entity be asked to surrender? Had the living being been equal in all respects, then why was he put under the influence of Maya? We have already discussed many times that the material energy is controlled by the Lord. The Bhagavad Gita 9:10 confirms this controlling power of the Lord over material nature. What's that verse? Name that verse.
What was it?
The
9.
9:10, without looking it up on your device. 9:10 Bhagavad Gita confirms this controlling power of the Lord over the material nature. Krishna says, I'm sorry?
Is it much of saying?
Mayadya Kshena Prakriti Suyate that the material energy is working under the Lord's direction and control, ultimately. She's not the supreme. Can a living entity who claims to be as good as the supreme being control the material nature? One time we were at the University of Louisville, Kentucky.
What it said Mooneyville.
Well, it's that also, actually. And one Indian boy, we had our cloth on the ground with books on it and a chair there, passing out flyers to students and getting them to stop and look at the books. And this chubby Indian boy came up and he said, "Is this ISKCON?" Yeah. And then he just started being blasphemous like anything. And I'm going to get you guys run off of this campus. You don't belong here. But the truth was, we probably weren't. We didn't have a permit, but nobody bothered us. We were getting away with it. So he got really, really angry, and he had all these gripes against Krishna consciousness and devotees of ISKCON. And then we were just like trying to speak reasonable with them. And then he started saying that he's God.
Excuse me.
You know, that you guys have all this bogus philosophy and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, we're all God and I'm God. And I was like, oh, nice to meet you, God. I've been chanting Hare Krishna with the desire to meet God face to face, and you've just fulfilled my desire. Well, thank you. You know, and I was just being totally sarcastic with him. And he's like getting angrier and angrier, you know, he calls the police to get us kicked off the campus police. And meanwhile, we're talking, and he's like, I'm God and everything. And I'm like, well, if you're God, like, can't you control the weather? You know, show me a miracle. Do something. Send a lightning bolt or something. You know what I mean? Like, he couldn't really address this issue. They say, I am God, you are God. But then you ask them to do something to prove that you're God, they can't do it. You know? So when I first started reading Prabhupada's books, Prabhupada kept saying that people think they are God. And I just thought, what? I never met anybody who claimed to be God. This is really bizarre. Like every page, Prabhupada would say, everybody thinks they're God. And I just thought, I don't know, maybe in India people think they're God, but I never met anybody who thinks that they're God, you know? And it took me a while to understand what Prabhupada was saying. I might not go out and profess, I am God. But we all think we're God, actually. Because Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that Bhoktaram Jagatapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram Suridam Sarva Bhutanam, that I, Krishna, am the enjoyer of all results of activities. I'm the controller of all the planets and the demigods on those planets. And I'm the actual benefactor or well-wisher of all living entities. So then I gradually understood, oh, when I think I'm the enjoyer, I'm meant to enjoy this whatever, this person or this thing or this situation or this name and fame or these results, these fruits. When I think I am the enjoyer, I'm entitled to enjoy this thing, then I'm claiming to be God. Because only Krishna is the enjoyer. When I think I control this family or this institution or this business or this country, I'm claiming to be God. When I think, oh, by me, all these poor people will get fed and this problem will get solved, I'll be the benefactor of others, we're claiming to be God. So this mentality of I and mine, it permeates every molecule of our existence. So we might think, I don't have that problem, but we have that problem. Even we're aspiring to be a Krishna Bhakta, pure Krishna Bhakta, we're still infused with this disease of I and mine. Even when it comes down to subtle things like my opinion, or my view on issues, or whatever. So, something to always be conscious of. Don't read Prabhupada's books thinking, yeah, Prabhupada's smashing the Mayavadis, Prabhupada's smashing the materialists, Prabhupada's smashing the scientists, Prabhupada's smashing the atheists. Well, where is that Mayavadi? Where is that materialist? Where is that scientist? Where is that atheist? Right here in our own heart. We're that person that Prabhupada's trying to get through to. Little drops of water wear away the stone, so he's trying to break our false ego. So false ego, it's difficult because then what's our solution? We're not supposed to think, I am. We're supposed to get over this disease of I and mine. So what are we supposed to do? Become a non-entity? No. So Prabhupada mentioned, the only way you give up false ego is by accepting or recognizing your real ego, which is Jivara Sarupa Hoy, Krishna Manichadas. Jivara Sarupa Hoy, the real identity or constitutional position of the jiva is that they're nothing but Krishna Nichadas, an eternal servant of Krishna. If you say, I am a man or a woman, Chinese or Indian or African or German, or I'm human or cockroach or German shepherd, you got it wrong. If somebody asks you, oh, hi, who are you? Oh, I'm an eternal servant of Krishna. Who are you? But we don't do that because you immediately think, oh, I'm an American, I'm whatever, you know. So that's the only solution to all our problems is to give up the ahankar or false ego by accepting the real ego. So, continuing Prabhupada's purport. The foolish I, okay, so the question was asked. Prabhupada asked a few rhetorical questions here. And so one of them was, if the living entity is actually equal to God, then why are we put under the influence of Maya? And Prabhupada says, the foolish I would reply, oh, I skipped a sentence. Can a living entity who claims to be as good as the Supreme Being control the material nature? The foolish I would reply that he will do so in the future. Yes, yes, we are just about to control material nature very nicely. We're going to cure all the diseases. We're going to cure the problems of, hey, Bhakti Nan, what are the 4 problems of material life? Besides that one has to pay taxes and that kind of stuff. But the real problems of material life, do you know what those are? Have you heard that? I'll give you a hint. The first one is birth.
Death, old age, disease.
Yeah. You think you have so many problems. Oh, I have, bills to pay that I can't afford. I have a relationship problem. Whatever. Legal problem. You only have 4 problems. That you have to get diseased, mentally or physically. You have to grow old, which isn't fun. You have to die. And then you have to take birth again and do it all over again. Perpetually, without end. So, the foolish I will say, I will control material nature in the future. Yes, we will come up with cures for birth and death and old age and disease. But it's all, Prabhupada said, trust no future, however pleasant. They make this big picture. Today, you citizens, all you petty little citizens, you're all suffering. There's food shortages, there's unemployment, there's crime, there's poverty, there's so much violence. There's so many things. You citizens, you just tolerate all these things because in the future we're going to solve all the problems. In the meantime, we're going to extract all your hard-earned money through taxation and exploit you like anything, make total fools out of you. But you just be patient because in the future all these problems will be solved. So Prabhupada said, no, don't be a fool. Don't accept the future. Don't believe in the future, however pleasant it is painted. Don't trust the future like that. Even accepting that in the future one will be as good a controller of material nature as the Supreme Being, then why is one now under the control of material nature? And Prabhupada would also say, okay, the scientists, yes, you may invent life someday, but what is your credit? It's already invented. Are we going to give Bhakti Nan this big prize because she invents the automobile tomorrow? Who cares for her invention? Henry Ford already invented it 100 years ago. Go invent something new. So Prabhupada would say like that. All right, let's say they do invent a little mosquito in the laboratory. So what? It's already been done a zillion, quadrillion times. There's so many mosquitoes. So what is this taking credit for anything? When all you're doing is reinventing the wheel? The Bhagavad Gita says that one can be freed from the control of the material nature by surrendering unto the Supreme Lord. But if there is no surrender, then the living entity will never be able to control the material nature. So what's that verse? That in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, you're never going to be freed from the... You think you're going to control material nature? You're silly. You're always going to be controlled by material nature. And the only way you can get over that difficulty is by surrendering unto me, because I'm the master of material nature. So where's that verse in Bhagavad Gita that Krishna says such a claim? Seven 14. Very important verse. So one must give up this misconception of I by practicing the way of devotional service or firmly being situated in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. A poor man without any employment or occupation may undergo so many troubles in life. But if by chance the same man gets a good service under the government, he at once becomes happy. There's no profit in denying the supremacy of the Lord, who is the controller of all energies. But one should be constitutionally situated in one's own glory, namely to be situated in the pure consciousness of being the eternal servitor of the Lord. Now this is one of the lessons that we learn on this very special day of the appearance of Lord Nrsimhadev. Why did he appear? Well, he appeared to reciprocate with his pure devotee Prahlad. And one of the ways in which he reciprocated with Prahlad was by killing Prahlad's demoniac father, Hiranyakashipu. So what was Hiranyakashipu's big problem? He actually thought that he was going to profit by denying the supremacy of the Lord. Prabhupada said, there's no profit in denying the supremacy of the Lord. And he said, and Hiranyakashipu said, oh yeah, I'll show you. I'm going to deny the supremacy of the Lord and show you how much I profit. So, it started to look that way. By golly, he was profiting. He didn't just control this paltry little planet Earth. He went to Svarga and usurped the kingdom of Indra. He sat right down on Indra's throne, kicked that guy right out of there and sat down on his throne. He had the three worlds, Bhu, Bhuva, and Sva, completely under his control. He just snapped his fingers and servants would come. Yes, master, what do you want? If he wanted it to be good weather, it became good weather. If he wanted it to be lousy weather, it became lousy weather. Whatever he wanted, at his fingertips. He profited like anything. He had all the gold in the world, in the universe. The big, even the demigods were, yes sir, shaking in their boots with fear. So he proved Prabhupada wrong. Prabhupada said, there's no profit to be gained by denying the supremacy of the Lord. And Hiranyakashipu said, oh yeah, I'll show you. So he thought he proved Prabhupada wrong. But then what happened? Prabhupada says in his discussions there in the 7th canto about Lord Nrsimhadev's treatment of Hiranyakashipu, he mentions that the demigods actually started getting nervous that this guy, Hiranyakashipu, he's getting away with murder, literally. He's getting away with murder. Where's Lord Vishnu? I thought Lord Vishnu was supposed to like protect us all and like do away with demons. This guy's like getting away with murder. He's gonna like, maybe he'll even kill Vishnu, which of course was Hiranyakashipu's ridiculous desire. And Prabhupada mentions there that no, the Lord likes to play with the demons. Like, have you ever seen a cat play with a mouse?
Oh, so sad.
So the cat's only desire is, oh, there's a mouse, I want to eat him. And all the cat has to do is tippy toe up to the mouse and clop and chop him right there. Well, it takes 1 moment to kill a mouse. But the cat doesn't do that generally. The cat will spend 5, 10 minutes teasing the mouse, slapping it with its right paw, slapping it with its left paw, chasing him around the pole. You know, the poor mouse is so scared. And the cat's just playing as though the mouse is going to get away. He actually lets the mouse run a couple of feet away, then he pounces on him. So the mouse thinks, I'm getting away, I'm escaping. And then at the last moment, the cat says, oh, enough of this, chomp. So Prabhupada mentions there in the 7th canto that similarly, Lord Vishnu plays with the demons. And he lets them think, I'm winning this competition. I'm winning this match with Vishnu. I'm going to win. And Prabhupada says, he gives them enough rope to hang themselves with. You've heard that expression? Give a person enough rope to hang themselves with. So he gave Hiranyakashipu enough rope to hang himself with. And what was the last straw? Or what was the rope, that had to be sufficiently there? It was not that Hiranyakashipu was terrorizing the universe. I mean, that was terrible, granted. It's not that he usurped Indra's kingdom. It's not that he was puffed up and demoniac and, blah, blah, blah. What really got Lord Nrsimhadev was that you, Hiranyakashipu, have offended my pure devotee. You are a Maha Vaishnava Aparadi. So I've had enough of this. I've been playing with you like when Lord Nrsimhadev appeared to fight with Hiranyakashipu. He just was so angry. So angry that, he couldn't contain it, right? And he just took him and killed him. So, and why was that anger so volcanic? Because Lord Nrsimhadev was fed up with how much Hiranyakashipu was being offensive to the pure devotee Prahlad. So there is no profit in denying the supremacy of the Lord. Modern society has done a very good job of denying the supremacy of the Lord. And they've done a very so-called good job of showing how much they've profited by denying the supremacy of the Lord. But now look what's happening. Now the rug's been pulled out from under their feet, and all the fake money that's printed on paper is going to become worthless in a very short period of time. All the money will be worthless. People are going to lose their wealth. They're going to lose their homes. They're going to lose their occupations. Everything. All the so-called profit will evaporate in literally overnight. It'll all be evaporated. Why? And why is that good? Why do we applaud such a horrible scenario coming up in the world? Because people have to learn that there's no profit, absolutely zero profit in denying the supremacy of the Lord. And unless and until they get that lesson through their heads, they'll never become humble and listen to the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Srila Prabhupada used to say that the preaching will be much improved after the war.
Well, he was speaking of like World War III, which doesn't necessarily have to take the form of bombs. That the preaching would be much better, much more favorable after the war. Because when the child, is disciplined and humble, then they listen. So these childlike materialists will be humbled. So we think, oh, the preacher was going nicely, we got big congregations and big temples and this and that. But Prabhupada said that preaching will be much better after the war. All those books that are situated out there like time bombs are going to explode right when the time is right to start a revival of the actual Christian consciousness movement. So, continuing Prabhupada's purport. In his conditional life, the living entity is servant of the illusory Maya. And in his liberated state, he is the pure, unqualified servant of the Lord. To become untinged by the modes of material nature is the qualification for entering into the service of the Lord. Where in Bhagavad Gita does Krishna say that? That in order to enter his service, one has to become free of all tinges of the three modes of material nature.
1155, 1154,
That's
maybe
not
1427, maybe.
1426.
26, yeah.
Mancharo Vyavicharana,
Bhakti Yoga Sri.
Te Sagunan Samatiki Anta. And what's the other one I'm thinking of? Remember, Krishna. Anyway, so one takes part in Krishna's devotional service when they're free from the influence of the gunas. So we're still affected by the gunas. Does that mean we're not doing devotional service? No, it means we're doing devotional service in practice. We're just apprentices. But real devotional service is the practitioner's completely free of the modes of nature. And it's obvious because that person will have no lust, anger, greed, etc. So we're like far away from that. As long as one is servant of mental concoctions, one cannot be completely free from the disease of I and mine. The Supreme Truth is uncontaminated by the illusory energy because he is the controller of that energy. The relative truths are apt to be engrossed in illusory energy. The best purpose is served, however, when one is directly facing the Supreme Truth, as when one faces the sun. The sun overhead in the sky is full of light, but when the sun is not in the visible sky, all is in darkness. Similarly, when one is face to face with the Supreme Lord, he is freed from all illusions. And one who is not so is in the darkness of illusory Maya. Oh, and here's the verse we just quoted. The Bhagavad Gita 14:26 confirms this as follows: Mam chayo vyavicharena bhakti yogena sevate sadhunan samatityatam brahma bhuyaya kalpate. So the science of bhakti yoga, of worshiping the Lord, glorifying the Lord, hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam from the right sources, not from the professional man, but from a person who is Bhagavatam in life, and being always in the association of pure devotees, should be adopted in earnestness. One should not be misled by misconceptions of I and mine. The karmis are fond of the conception of mine. The jnanis are fond of the conception of I. And both of them are unqualified to be free from the bondage of the illusory energy. Srimad Bhagavatam and primarily the Bhagavad Gita are both meant for delivering a person from the misconception of I and mine. And Srila Vyasadeva transcribed them for the deliverance of the fallen souls. The living entity has to be situated in the
transcendental position, where there is no more influence of time, nor of the material energy. In conditioned life, the living entity is subjected to the influence of time in the dream of past, present, and future. The dream of past, present, and future. The mental speculator tries to conquer the influence of time by future speculations of becoming Vasudeva, or the Supreme Lord himself, by means of culture and knowledge and conquering over ego. But the process is not perfect. The perfect process is to accept Lord Vasudeva as the Supreme in everything. And the best perfection in culture and knowledge is to surrender unto him, because he is the source of everything. So what verse in Bhagavad Gita supports this point that Prabhupada just made? That one has to accept that Vasudeva is everything, and that our only position is to surrender unto Vasudeva.
Well, the last line is Vasudeva Saranati.
Mm-hmm.
Not much to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
What is that, 9? Is it 9? 9:14.
It's in 7th chapter. Bhagavatam. Danakeli.
Panjante.
Bhaganam Janmanam Ante,
Jnanavanam Prapajyate.
Jnanavanam Prapajyate, Vasudeva Sarvati Samahatma Sadurlabha. I'm not remembering the number right now. Thought it was chapter 7. So anyway, we'll finish the report here, a few more sentences. Only in that conception can one get rid of the misconception of I and mine. Both Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam confirm it. Srila Vyasadeva has specifically contributed to the illusioned living entities, the science of God, and the process of Bhakti Yoga in his great literature, Srimad Bhagavatam. And the conditioned soul should fully take advantage of this great science. End of Srila Prabhupada's purport. So, this is the science of how to be free from the it's 719, isn't it? Yeah, 719, probably no judgment. So, this is the science of how to become free from the disease of I and mine. Now, this is Nrsingadev's appearance day, and again, his actual purpose in any incarnation of the Lord, whenever the Lord appears in this world, the actual purpose is to glorify his devotee with whom he's coming to reciprocate. He doesn't have any other occupation. You and I may have so many occupations, responsibilities, duties, etc. But Krishna only has one occupation. And that's to glorify his devotee. So Lord Nrsingadev actually came to glorify Prahlad. And one incredible quality, he had many incredible qualities, but one incredible quality of Prahlad was that he was free from the disease of I and mine. And the proof is that...
Before you close the book, I have a question about the second page of the purport.
Okay, we'll get there. Just one second. I'll just finish this couple sentences and then we'll get to your question. Prahlad was free from the disease of I and mine, as shown by his behavior, that no matter how many times Hiranyakashipu and his agents tried to kill him and torture him, he just was like, oh, okay, whatever, he unscathed, all right, maybe he'll destroy my body. Just completely taking shelter of the Lord. He wasn't fazed by the idea that I might lose this body. And he was free from the conception of mine, because he didn't think, oh, this is my father, I have to be attached to him, and I can't let, Nrsingadev kill him. Actually, Nrsingadev killed his father, and he was just like, oh, respectful to Lord Nrsingadev. He didn't say, oh my God, you just killed my father. So this whole pastime of the Lord appearing is to glorify his devotee life. Okay, Wanda Ganesh Prabhu, you had a question?
At the top of the second page of the purport, about the fourth line, you said something like, something was more injurious to the individual than the concept of I and mine.
Yeah, no, okay, let me find that. The misconception of I am the Lord or I am the Supreme is more dangerous than the misconception of mine. Yeah, this is an excellent point you've brought up, because many times Prabhupada says that humans are worse than animals. And we think, what? Humans? I mean, animals are totally in tamagun, mode of ignorance. At least we're in the mode of passion, we've got knowledge. What do you mean we're worse than the animals? Well, this is why we're worse than the animals. Because the animals are only in the consciousness of mine. This is mine. This is my turf. Get off my cloud, Get off my turf. But humans go beyond that to a more dangerous position of I am the Supreme. I am the Lord of all I survey. I am the enjoyer. I am the controller. I am the benefactor. I am the Supreme. So that's more dangerous. So in that way, humans actually are worse than animals. In other ways too, but in this way, humans are worse than animals. So we should be humbled by that we're worse than animals. Okay, anything else? So we'll continue this evening. I guess somebody will give a class on Shrimad's Parents' Day. Okay, anything else? Otherwise we'll stop there. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.